Good to see you, looking nice, bright and sunny.
We're in sunny Spain, 320 days of sun every year down the south of Spain. So fortunate.
That's excellent. So Kevin, of course, has a long history in the industry, all the way back to Jersey Telecom, GT Group, then through SMS Highway, Vonage, and you're now working for an interesting company. Is it Cavero? Is it how is it pronounced?
Cavero Quantum, yes.
So actually, your focus is going to be on your new company. So with that, please, Kevin, take it away.
It certainly is. Thank you, Alan. So I'm just going to share my screen.
Yep. I'll let you know when we see it. There you go.
Okay. So the topic is security of programmable communications ready for the post-quantum era? I'm gonna give everyone the opportunity who listens to this and who consumes it after today to get at least a high level understanding of what quantum computing is. It's a journey that I've been on recently, I can tell you, because it's been a steep learning curve for someone who is primarily focused with a background in the CPaaS and communication space particularly from a messaging perspective. But I'm leading business development activity at Cavero Quantum. We're a startup, and we've developed the most secure quantum-safe software-based cryptographic keys in the world, deployable on any device regardless of size. So I'm going to cover some ground that outlines the threat that quantum computing poses to the programmable communications sector specifically, but also some considerations for the broader impact on the telco industry as we know it. So if I move forward with a little background on me, I know you've kindly started that process, Alan, but I've been in the industry now for over 23 years. Definitely a master of none, and some would say a jack of at least a few trades. I started in sales, literally just ringing ex-BT engineers back over 23 years ago anyway, a long time ago. But I've worked through product, procurement, general management positions, leadership positions on exec boards, as well as now being an advisor. They're all commercial roles that I've done rather than technical. I would never describe myself as a technical expert, but obviously working in this industry, you pick up knowledge and learn from people like your good self, Alan, over the years.
Thank you.
In terms of perspective, I've worked for operators, vendors, resellers. The CPaaS space is reasonably well documented recently, and also been self-employed working as a consultant. And I've worked with organizations across the globe, to be perfectly honest, but I do like to make sure that everyone is clear in their understanding that the US is probably the one market where I wouldn't consider myself to have any real authority on. I've had the pleasure of doing some work with US businesses and for US businesses, but it's certainly not. I perceive it to be a different marketplace to the one that I've earned my spurs in, so to speak, and I tend to defer to other people on the US particularly. In terms of customer focus, I've worked with the small high street shops or local dentists and everything between there and the largest and ugliest tech giants on the planet. And I use that word slightly jokingly. I've obviously gravitated towards roles in leadership and started to lead initiatives joining the dots. So the ecosystem is many splintered, and I find that even to this day, organizations I work with, whether they're mobile operators, whether they're vendors, whether they're enterprises themselves, or anyone in the ecosystem in between the two ends of the spectrum, there's a number of key factors that you've got to consider when you build out tech plans and growth plans for organizations, when you consider legal factors, compliance factors, and launching new products. So I kind of gravitated towards these roles where I guess I do some advisory, whether that's internal or external. So that's a bit about me. Let's move on to quantum and the quantum threat specifically. The cryptographic keys that safeguard our technology are based on complex math problems. So, and because of that, once quantum computers are fully realized, they'll be able to solve these problems simply because of their capability and the amount of processing power that they'll have. And that will expose critical infrastructure and personal data to an extent that we haven't seen before. The GSMA, for me, is the one organisation within the telecommunications and programmable communications space that is a constant, is a permanent, I guess, pillar of virtue in some respects. And so when I look for references, for standards, I often look towards the GSMA, and they've only recently put out their latest guidance on quantum. I think it's their second iteration, and it really highlights just how I won't read verbatim what it says in front of you there, but you can all see that. And ultimately, our public key cryptography, which protects all of our systems and processes today, are under severe threat. And the following slide I'm going to show you is actually a video from a private equity firm called Vertex, and they put a little bit more context on the subject.
I became interested in cryptography many years ago, in particular applying mathematics to breaking it. Learned that this new kind of computer would break the codes I'd been working on. I initially dismissed it as nonsense. Then I realized, they were serious, studied it a bit more and realized I was wrong. Someday this would work and it's going to reshape how we secure things. What I never imagined in the 90s is how much more dependent on cryptography we'd be in every aspect of our day-to-day lives. Now we use it every day without even knowing it, right? When you do HTTPS, you use a VPN and so on, you're using public key cryptography. That cryptography is based on hard mathematical problems that we think would take the lifetime of the universe or thousands of years to break. But with a quantum computer, suddenly it becomes easy to break. The most common way of doing encryption is using asymmetric cryptography. So this is using public and private keys. I would send you a public key, and you would use this to encrypt your message. The message comes to me, I use my private key to decrypt the message. In the past, people have been able to just increase the key size a bit, double the size of the key. So that's an exponential increase in the time that it would then take to break the key using conventional computers. That does not hold true for quantum computers. Well, the impact in the 90s would have been bad, but nowadays it'd be astronomically more intense and more disruptive, because the entire economy, every critical infrastructure, every critical digital platform, directly or indirectly, is vulnerable to these codes being broken. So now the stakes are much, much higher, and we definitely have to be prepared for this.
So every digital platform is vulnerable. I think that's quite a critical point to pause on. And when you consider, what does that constitute? Well, the scope for this problem is undoubtedly reaches further across the industry and across the world that we live in today than perhaps most people appreciate. The urgency is real. The concept of storing data that's hacked now and then decrypting later is upon us. We've just heard on the video that encrypted data is safe. That's not a statement that holds any longer. It doesn't hold today, and it won't hold in the future. The risks to global cybersecurity are becoming increasingly well documented. We talk about it a lot in the context of what we do day to day within, let's say, the programmable communications industry, for example. And while the hacking methodologies that fraudulent actors deploy evolve at an alarming rate today, I do wonder what that's going to be in the future. Today, we talk about social engineering and enhanced AI-based capabilities. And they're just two factors that add gravity to the risks today. But as I say, the Q day is coming, as the slide said. And when you consider the amount of fraud and nefarious activity we all encounter across the ecosystem today, there's a strong case to suggest that existing cybersecurity and cryptography solutions need a major upgrade. We've all got our opinions on that. We've discussed them at length, sometimes on your show, Alan.
Yep.
But the imminent threat posed by quantum computing to cybersecurity is irrefutable. Governments are already pushing for quantum safe migration by 2030. US legislation sets the date out at 2030, and that includes the context that you've got regulation, you've got audit, you've got tax incentives. They're all being considered to protect industries like, let's say, the financial services industry and also national security. And we can only imagine that the EU won't be too far behind that. So the context is, I talked before about not being an expert in the US. I'm certainly not an expert on this subject matter, given that I'm relatively new in terms of my time at Covero Quantum. But what I can tell you is there's that much information out there, and that much, once you start to become focused on this day to day, you start to realize how seriously governments are taking this. And I guess that's a logical conclusion to draw when you consider the global cybersecurity agenda. So if we look at the keys for symmetric encryption that we see today, we don't always stop to pause. If you're working on services, you're delivering services to customers out there, you're working in the network, you're working in an operational role, we all come up and face the reality of symmetric encryption today in so many different contexts. The threat that quantum poses challenges right across the technology inventory. And naturally, the largest organizations with the greatest exposure are already working through their options and prioritizing the most sensitive and critical assets. And we can expect that to start to flow, or we can expect that to flow down through the ecosystem so that partners and customers start to see the benefits. But I think it's incumbent upon everyone within the ecosystem, whether you're, let's say, a small software vendor, a developer representing a CPaaS business. Every organization within the ecosystem needs to consider their role and whether or not they'll actually be compliant, I guess, as a business partner in the future. So whilst it might be that top level security within government and financial organisations may well be heavily focused on this, this is coming down the road for all of us. It's also not just an internal requirement, and whilst the theme here might sound like it's about the threat, it's almost an insurance sell in some respects. It's not just about that. There are significant opportunities here for growth and for innovation and significantly enhanced products to secure the key components of the programmable communications landscape. So there's a lot of opportunity here, as well as the concept of needing to secure internal networks and internal infrastructure. Some of the new opportunities might appear obvious. So we talk about 2FA and MFA, for example, in programmable comms, more secure communications and transactions, as well as data that's both in transit and at rest. The scope is huge to apply some quantum safe cryptography to scenarios right across the ecosystem today. I think it's also important to say it's not just the enterprise that deserves to know who it's dealing with as well. So the concept of symmetric lightweight keys, which is something that we pride ourselves on providing at Covero, that actually enables the consumer to demand a little bit more rather than, or sort of the end user to demand a little bit more rather than just the enterprise, let's say a major tech business, knowing and authenticating the identity of the end user. Perhaps it should work the other way as well. And with the concept of symmetric key exchange, that's a reality which would enable the development of some fantastic new products. There are already major developments in this marketplace, in the telco marketplace. If we look at what MNOs are doing today, and as is so often the case, you often look east for innovation as well. And on a recent trip to South Korea, some of my colleagues met with mobile operators who are currently providing quantum key distribution solutions into their enterprise market. So they've been doing this for some time, but they are experiencing problems rolling out the technology due to the time, expense, and resources required to deploy. I'll go back to the GSMA a little bit just to reinforce some of the business cases and some of the use cases that exist for quantum security today. As I said before, they published their second reference document for mobile network operators earlier this month, actually, and in it they updated the list of use cases members needed to consider as they plan for the threat of quantum computing. They use use cases that cover internal technical and operational sides of things on the left-hand side of the diagram here, or the slide you can see. But the list is far from exhaustive, and then on the right-hand side you can see lots of fairly common customer impacting use cases as well. So this slide just helps you to envision what the internal scenarios may well be, as well as the external potential product opportunities that exist for everyone. And you know, every actor within the ecosystem has an opportunity here to, first of all, understand their own position from a security perspective, but then also consider where they sit in the ecosystem and where their right to play might well be in terms of providing new and enhanced services.
So when do you think, Kevin, quantum safe SIMs will appear? Because I assume they're not quantum safe at the moment.
They're absolutely not. And the problem with that, Alan, is that SIMs, I believe, have a very limited capacity.
Yeah.
So I don't want to put the number on it because I'm for fear of getting it wrong. But they're very limited in terms of the computational power that a SIM can entertain. So luckily enough, you'll get your side payment for introducing one of our USPs as an organisation halfway through my presentation, Alan. But we have a very lightweight lightweight key exchange protocol that can be housed on a SIM. And I think, you know, the question there is valid, because we all know that our experience as end users is not necessarily does not necessarily seem to be personalized. And not only does it not seem to be personalized, but the accuracy of the data and therefore the ability to troubleshoot the services that you know we rely on every day are limited. And so the concept of being able to put this on a SIM, not only to improve security, but also to be able to provide additional value is significant. But it's a great point. The GSMA guidance also highlights the importance of planning and preparation. So if you consider the concept of crypto agility, I referred before to the South Korean operators who are struggling with quantum key distribution and just the sheer resource required, the computational power that's required. Whatever solutions deployed, there's a chain of factors that needs to be secured, and the development requirements at all 7 layers of the OSI model will need to be carefully planned out, because they're largely interdependent. And so if you make something quantum safe within the 7 layers, you're going to have to make sure that the areas that, or the development requirements are considered for the other layers of the OSI model. And when you consider the significant concerns over scalability of existing solutions, it's fair to say that even the organizations with the greatest resources and the greatest cybersecurity budgets, they need some help. So if I was to say right now, how do we feel about it, and how do I feel about it, being relatively new to this, I think the bad actors that I know so well from my 23 plus years in the industry and having dealt with a lot of fraud, we're seeing them, I think, gain more and more traction using the existing services and finding ways to get around existing cybersecurity services and solutions. I think quantum computing really just opens up a significant can of worms that they will be able to expose. If the largest organizations in the world are not ready and still have major concerns over how to get ready, it's fair to assume that the various key players across our programmable communications marketplace aren't either. Giants like Meta and Santander have published guidelines for quantum security, and most of them kind of focus on a hybrid model of mixing classical and quantum cryptography. That seems the most obvious way to address it. But even with that's going to take 5 to 10 years for major organizations to deliver the compliance and the security that's required. So the urgency and gravity of this topic is undeniable for all technology security leaders. Business partners for telco will need to follow suit. I've referred to that already. So if you, as an organization, work closely or indirectly with mobile network operators, you're going to have to find a way to become compliant, and also for your developers to consider how you build out your services. We talk about programmable communications, the benefits of APIs, and how I think the communications marketplace is adapted to the needs of developers, sometimes successfully, sometimes not so, which I'll leave that for you to focus on, Alan, from time to time. But even in the space of a few months, I've been working with Kivera, we've seen the timelines for quantum close in, whilst all the while the bad guys continue to expose weaknesses. And they base themselves on classical cryptography protocols today, and that's not working. I would argue that actually the solutions that I'm going to talk you through now, I guess the sales pitch in this session, it highlights the opportunity that exists today to start to change and start to build out a quantum safe future for organizations, but also potentially to innovate and to start to provide the right kind of solutions with the scalability that unfortunately the existing solutions in the marketplace don't provide. So if I move forward to that existing marketplace, there are two main protocols at the moment in the quantum safe marketplace: post-quantum cryptography, or PQC, and key distribution, or QKD. QKD offers high security but requires specialized hardware and infrastructure. If you think about, let's say, big government deployments, huge data centers being connected, and it makes it almost impossible to roll that out on a it is impossible to roll that out on a widespread basis. And to that extent, some governments have already rejected the concept of QKD simply on that grounds. And if government organisations are unable to build out this incredibly important concept using that, then obviously it's not going to flow through to the enterprise marketplace, or certainly programmable communications as an example. The second option is probably a little bit more scalable, PQC, and it involves more complex hard math based software solutions. So once you start to move towards software, you can imagine that the possibilities start to grow, and that's evolved from a NIST competition. NIST is the US National Institute of Standards and Technology.
Yeah.
And it took, I think it was something like 7 years it ran for. And out of 54 submissions, I think they found one that was suitable. You can look it up, it's called Kyber. And it's already facing concerns about the vulnerability, even to classical computers, because what generally happens is that the more complex the hard maths is, the more complex the solutions become, and therefore the higher computational power that's required. Yeah. And if you can't deploy because of how resource hungry those solutions are, then you start to make you start to kind of trade off security against scalability. And unfortunately, that, as I say, that manifests itself in the potential for vulnerability to classical computers, let alone quantum computers in the future. At Cavera, we've developed a third quantum safe, what we call protocol, really, and we're up and to the right of this diagram. Everyone wants to be up and to the right when you have a diagram like this. But the key for us is it's backed by over a decade of research in random number probability theory, and it's not reliant on hard maths problems. So it ensures long-term security in the quantum era, but it's built into a lightweight, quantum-safe key creation method, which offers QKD level security through simple software. So if you consider the business challenge that the marketplace faces, we think we've addressed some of the major barriers to scalability, and the idea about democratizing access to quantum secure solutions is upon us now. I would also like to reiterate what I've already said, that I see issues with existing cryptography solutions, and if you can find something that's scalable and that fits and suits the market from a product perspective, then I would argue that it's not just about quantum computing and combating the threat of quantum computing, it's also about improving the state of play as it is today. Mm-hmm. That third quantum protocol we talk about, we're talking about combining high performance from a security perspective with frictionless deployment and a lightweight footprint. And our solution democratizes access to quantum compliance, but also enables organizations to enhance the security on the type of applications that I talked about earlier. The symmetric nature of the keys adds an additional dimension, and it includes the concept of perfect forward security, a low computational footprint, and the ability for end users to authenticate the identity of their service provider, which establishes an enhanced trust basis for critical transactions. And as I was referring to before, I think that's really exciting to me, someone who's worked in this kind of authentication marketplace where major tech businesses have wanted to authenticate. That, of course, that's been a major kind of feeding ground for SMS and A2P SMS, but it's been very much one way, and the power has been with the enterprise, whereas in reality we all know that as consumers we deserve probably something a little bit more than that. And if we have the ability to be able to verify whether or not we're actually talking to the organization we think we are, I think that in itself is a really interesting concept. Our solutions can be deployed as direct replacements for existing ECDH cryptography protocols. And whilst the ECDH cryptography protocol might not be something that everyone's familiar with today, you'll certainly be familiar with some of the examples that you see in everyday tech. So TLS, for example, IPsec, VPNs themselves, just some examples where ECDH cryptography it's one of the, well, I think it's the most popular asymmetric cryptography protocol today, and what we have designed really allows you to literally drop it in and replace ECDH today. So you can get started on quantum security a lot quicker because of that concept. As I've said before, there's significant scope to evolve your existing product portfolio, and I think I want to finish by just really talking about our organisation. We're a startup that received seed funding and has been built out of an academic team based at the University of Leeds. So we've got world-leading quantum research with some incredibly clever people who as I said before, I referred to the learning curve that I've been on, and I'm certainly not worthy to sit in a room and discuss or do anything other than listen when I'm with these people, and it's been a fantastic experience for me so far. But what I would also say is that we have a team of commercial specialists, our chairman Andrew Wallace and the CEO James Trenholm, with whom I've worked before, and we've got a great team. The combination of the academic and quantum research and expertise combined with the commercial side of things means that we're well positioned to be able to put this together. And we've already started to discuss early stage engagement models with mobile network operators, with government agencies, major enterprises. And we're going to deliver this. I talked about democratizing before. We're going to deliver the key library, but make it accessible via APIs, SDKs. And ultimately, we're going to co-create with the ecosystem, and that will enable business partners to not only progress their quantum secure priorities, but also provide services for others to do so on a much more scalable basis than we see with existing PQC and QKD solutions. So to finish, my contact details are here. We're interested to speak with any organisation who wants to discuss either quantum security, what it means, what options exist out there today, and also we're here to listen about work and planning that's already been undertaken. It helps us to build out our vision, but we're also interested to talk about collaboration, as I've referred to a few times. There's the potential for co-creation on new products and services that bases itself on our technology, but ultimately harnesses the business models or the vision and the strategy that organizations, both large and small, have today. I hope that's been useful. Again, thank you, Alan, and the entire community for having me. And I'm happy to take any questions you might have. I know, Alan, you might want to dig into it a little bit deeper.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Because it feels like we're getting something for nothing.
I can guarantee you that the F word won't be coming into this. It's 4 letters and it doesn't end with K. So,
yeah. But maybe you know how it is. It seems there's this simple software solution, and you refer to it as the protocol. So, yeah, I guess I'm just trying to understand a little bit more around what is it that's enabling you to get this gain.
Sure. So let me just, have I stopped sharing my screen?
Yeah. I think, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
We had Paul Sweeney join us, and then he hopped off. So he's our next speaker. So don't worry, you can speak until can he Q is joining.
I can see a pair of trainers there walking around. I suspect I know who they are, but I'm not
They
sure.
are. That's Johnny.
So just to answer your question,
I'm here. Alan's getting all excited because he's going to do truth and quantum next. Because we can't even solve a robocall or a spam text, or they don't want to. Yeah. This is going to really blow things up. We might as well just hop on one of Elon's ships and go to Mars.
You got it. You got it, Johnny. So just quickly, it's a key creation method based on probabilistic theory. So it's come out of ultimately it's out of the physics side of the academic or the academic team that works on this.
Gotcha.
It's about probabilistic theory. It's a lightweight key that fits on a 256-bit. So what it will enable us to do, as I say, is it's about democratizing. If you think about every layer of the OSI stack, you're going to have devices, you're going to have network functions, you're going to have so many different considerations within the whole technology infrastructure and within a network.
Yeah.
All of the endpoints at the moment are frozen out from the possibility of in any way being quantum secure.
Exactly.
You have to be able to provide a product that will enable them to process it and fit that key on there and the key exchange method. So it's patented technology. It's a fantastic, innovative product. And the initial reaction that we have from anyone who's worked with PQC and QKD is, this looks like it may well solve some of the major issues we have with scalability.
Yeah, because I mean, what's happening at the moment is people are just storing hacked data. They can't decrypt, but it doesn't matter. We will in the future.
Exactly.
So that is why it's an existing threat today. Because it could be 5, it may be 7 years, but we know it's coming.
It's coming down the line. I think there are more and more advancements and more signs that this is not going to be 5 to 7 years. And on top of that, I would reiterate what I've said before. If you just consider something like authentication, the concepts that we can solve and we can address is not just about quantum future. It's about the reality that we face today.
Exactly.
We've done it till we're blue in the face in terms of the challenges we face with security today and our inability to demonstrate to end users that we're responsible in the way that we deliver technology.
Oh yeah, well, NIST depreciated 2FA via SMS years ago, and we're still doing it. But no, this is great. Again, Kevin, thank you so much. Really interesting, and looking forward to hearing from you next year on this, because I'm sure it's going to be developing fast.